You're live.
Great. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this fundraising workshop. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Vonada. I am the new communications director. I live in Pennsylvania, and we'll be working out of Washington a few days a week, but otherwise I'm on the road or working from home. So if you need me for anything, you'll be able to email me and get a hold of me. I start in January, but in the next month and a half or so, we're working on the transition, so I'm available for questions or comments, and I might be reaching out to some of you to, bug you. I was asked to lead a workshop about fundraising, and here's why. First of all, this is audience participation, so none of y'all are getting out of topic. When you think of fundraising, what do you think of? Raising money. Socials. What was that? Penny socials. Penny socials. Ooh, I like the way you're thinking already. Food. Dessert options. That sounds delicious. Raffles. Hard work. So here's one thing I want us to think about, is putting fun in fundraising. I want us to move away from a model of selling cookbooks and candles as our primary source of fundraising. And why? Anybody have an idea as why we want to get away from that? Think of me as the communications director while I'm asking you why we want to move away from single item sales. Because everybody's got cookbooks out the door. Yes, everybody has cookbooks. Why else?
It's kind of like it's always the way it's been done.
Always the way it's been done. Lord knows I hate that. What was that? Diversify. Here's why candle sales and cookbooks, while a good source of fundraising, I'm not knocking the fact that they do raise funds. I do love me a good cookbook. Don't get me wrong. I will buy any pumpkin spice candle that somebody is selling. However, they are all one-touch opportunities. That means I go up here to Cheryl and I say, Cheryl, would you like to buy a cookbook? She says yes. I say, great, here's our cookbook, have a good day. Thank you for your money. And I leave. It's not a good tactic for a Grange to say, all we do is sell things to raise money for ourselves. So one of the things I want us to think of is more community-based fundraising opportunities. I want us to look in ways that we can engage people beyond ourselves and our own Grange members to create fundraising opportunities that both reach out into the community and involve the community. So what we're going to be talking about today is kind of the steps to take to create a fundraiser that gets the Grange's name in the news, that gets the Grange's name out into the community as people who are doing things other than selling cookbooks to renovate their Grange home. So I want you guys, I already had some ideas here that I've heard shouted out. If you can't read me, that means you're sitting too far away. What else did I hear earlier? I've got penny socials, dessert options. Food.
Dinners, takeout, whatever you call it.
Great.
Raffles.
Okay, what else? What are some other, this is a quick brainstorm and nothing is wrong at this moment. Nothing's wrong ever, really. 50-50. 50-50, we'll put that with raffles. Which are illegal in some states, by the way, so.
Concerts.
St. Pauli shed.
What's that?
We have a St. Pauli shed.
Tell me more about that.
It's a donation box. People in our community don't have a place to take their stuff, and when they pick it up, we get money by weight.
Okay.
So provide a service to the community, and then in return, we get a donation back from the company.
Great, I like that. And you are from?
Stanford Grange in
New York, okay. For her Grange, oh, I'm sorry.
Her Grange? It's my Grange.
Your Grange.
My Grange.
I go youth up. I say, where do the youth belong?
I'm Katie Fallon's mom.
Oh, okay, well that makes a lot of sense. So one thing I wanted to think about, I like thinking in an idea of carnivals, fun fairs, festivals, something that you as a Grange will partner with other organizations to produce. And so that's kind of where we're going to go today with our thoughts, just because I created the workshop.
We have a community day.
Community days, I like that. Okay, so there's several steps that you need to take to create a successful fundraiser. For those of you who don't know what I do in my day job right now, I'm the general manager for one of the largest community theaters in Pennsylvania. So one of my major jobs is fundraising and community outreach, is connecting with people who I don't know to get them in and to be a partner with us. So one thing, what are things that I'm going to ask you first before I start talking? What are things you need to create, that's not a good comment, to create a successful fundraiser? What are things that you as a Grange or an organization need to have or to do to create a successful fundraiser?
People, volunteers.
Advertising.
Participants, people participants. A goal, why are you raising that money?
Great. What else?
The venue.
Bless you.
Need an idea that people want to go to. If you're doing something, you want something that people want to do.
It's not strictly necessary, but ideally a collaborative sponsor.
I'm going to say collaborative organization.
You need a plan and either a person or a small committee in charge.
Okay.
Look, you spelled out organization.
I spelled organization, but I couldn't spell collaborating correctly, so I'll take half away. One thing, the Grange is a nonprofit, correct? Mm-hmm. So one thing that your Grange has is a tax ID number.
Someone online commented marketing strategy.
Marketing strategies. I like that. Strategies. Is that Karen Klein?
It is.
Hi, Karen. So other things that you can think about as you're planning, depending on what you're doing, and this is an important one, is your budget. To raise money, you need to spend money. The goal, however, is to spend as little money as possible, and that's why we have a tax ID number. Using your tax ID number, if your Grange doesn't personally have one, and many don't, your state Grange certainly does. And you, as a chartered organization of your state Grange, have access to use their tax ID number under their umbrella. Many Pomona Granges also have their own tax ID numbers because of the way that some states require counties to have things chartered. So using your tax ID number, you can then go out into your community to make partnerships and say, will you please donate to help us? And here's when they're really going to help. They're going to help when you are not raising money for yourself. They are most likely going to donate when you go out and say, hi, I'm Susan Klein, I'm from the Indiana State Grange. We are partnering with Toys for Tots this year to go out into our community and to be able to provide in 20 different communities donations of Toys for Tots. We would like a fiscal sponsor, we would like an individual donation from your organization to help us raise money for us to go purchase those toys. So, what we're thinking in this moment is, are they going to donate directly to the Toys for Tots Drive, or are they going to donate to the event that helps them raise money for the Toys for Tots Drive? There's two different ways to approach. If you go up into the hospitality room that's here right now, you'll notice that the Great Plains region got most of the food donated that's in that hospitality room from hostess. Major companies are located near every community that your Granges are in. Whether you know it or not, there's a Walmart distribution plant. There's a Hanover packing plant. There's Snyder's Pretzels. There's something nearby that has a plant that is often required to donate to their community. Walmart, you might not know this, has community grants. Every Walmart branch is required to give out a certain amount of money, several $1,000s into their communities each year. And often I'm hearing from people who I know who work in Walmart corporate saying that hundreds of thousands of dollars are left on the table each year that Walmart is supposed to be donating into their communities. Now, often they only donate to specific events. One thing they might donate toward is your staging your Grange camp. They might donate toward your state Grange convention. If you have a Walmart in the community where your state Grange is holding their convention, you can go to them and say, 350 people from the state as well as a national representative coming to our community, can you help support us? Now, one thing you have to watch for is deadlines, because they do usually require those are in 3 to 4 months before your event based on the cycle. So it's sometimes you have to play a long game planning to figure out what steps you need to take to raise money properly. Okay, I went on a little tangent there. That's beside the point. So one thing that you need to think about, how many of you are always in charge? How many of you are good at delegating? All right. I will admit, I'm not great at delegating. However, the one thing that we have to do, we burn Grange members out by asking the same people over and over again to help. There are some wonderful youth in your community who you can help, or who you can ask to help. One great partnership to make is with your local 4-H club. And you know what that's also going to do? That's going to grow your Grange membership. If you go partner with your 4-H club, if you say we're going to split proceeds of this event between our two organizations, you can get those 4-H members to come in and assist you, and then it's a great recruitment tool. Because the first thing they're going to see of your Grange is you out in the community doing something. Their first touch with the Grange isn't going to be coming to your hall. Yeah, it's a question.
We use the local school.
Local schools, great.
One of our members several of our members are teachers. Several of our youth are students there. So that's how we generate an interest, because the students are required, even though seniors mostly in our district, to do community service. So you let them know they can come to us for community service, and then maybe they find an interest.
And sometimes, I will say, sometimes you have to be registered with the school district ahead of time to allow those partnerships. One partnership, I'm a member of Eagle Grange #1 in Pennsylvania, as well as another Grange. But one thing that Eagle Grange just did, we held a community fun fair, a children's fair, and we partnered with the local Milton High School's FFA program. And so the proceeds were split between coming to Eagle Grange and to Milton's FFA. The one thing we did to ease burdens on ourselves as a Grange is we let them run the food stand, because that's something they already do in other places. And we say, you want to run the food stand? You want to keep the proceeds of the food stand? You have a great day and you enjoy that. And then they, as the school, were able to get donations to run their food stand. So these partnerships are going to be great recruiting tools, as well as saying, Eagle Grange and Milton High School FFA present a children's community fun fair. The one thing that that's going to do is generate press interest in your event. How many of you have ever sent a media alert? Elizabeth.
Explain what an alert is.
Okay, so a media alert is sent out 2 to 4 weeks ahead of your event, depending on what your event is. Saying, hi, our Grange is holding X event at Y time, and here's why you should be interested in it. Here is why we would like press coverage. Which is, we are raising money for our local children's charity. We are raising money specifically to help our community in the following ways. And then what you also do is say, representatives from these organizations will also be there. You can say, we know that the community chairperson of the Toys for Tots Foundation, I don't know why I keep going back to them, that's my, but say that they are coming and they are also assisting in running this, and will be there for you to talk to get some quotes from, that kind of thing. generating press interest to come to your event is very important. Because so often what we do as Granges is send a press release which comes after the event, which is too late for the press to really care about what you've done. While yes, you might get put in that community features section that says Walker Grange donated $300 and 200 sets of goodies to the local infant shelter. Not that I don't think an infant shelter is a thing. but you know what I'm talking about. So you get this little blurb that comes after the fact, instead of the press coverage to get people to come in the first place. You know where we're going with this? You see what we're doing? So, keep ourselves unspotted from the world. So we're going to come back to what we were talking about earlier, which is the budget. And say the main goal of your fundraiser is to raise funds, right? So you just set a smart budget. You need to spend as little money as possible to, and this is I'm quoting myself here because I felt fancy, to ensure a financial success. And the thing is, again, you can't just create the budget, you have to stick to the budget and set a realistic goal. It's always better for you to make more money than you thought you were going to than to spend more money than you thought you were going to. So let's say we're throwing a carnival for our community. We have some things up here that we need. We need a venue, we need people, we need an advertising and marketing strategy, which I am happy to help you with as your communications director. We have our idea, we know we have a tax idea, we're going to go solicit donations. What are some other things that we need to legally hold the event?
Permits.
Permits. This is something that we forget about quite frequently. Every state and county and often communities have their own rules about what can be sold and how. In Pennsylvania, the Grange was behind pushing to allow baked goods not baked in commercial kitchens to be sold at fundraisers. Because the Pennsylvania legislature put into effect a rule that said anything sold must be made in a commercial kitchen. Do you know who doesn't have access to commercial kitchens? Girl Scouts, Granges, 4-H's. These smaller agricultural communities don't have access to these because they're not in a lot of communities. So the Grange, we held a pie day event, and Grange members from around the state showed up at our Capitol and visited their legislators with pies and said, if this was baked in a commercial kitchen, you couldn't have this. Like you wouldn't have access to this. And people in Pennsylvania still remember the Grange's advocacy to get that. And you know what the solution was? We just have to have a sign that says these baked goods weren't made in a commercial kitchen. That's what the solution was. But it took the Grange pushing behind that to make that happen for Pennsylvania. So you have to watch these licenses and know, what are we allowed to sell? What are we allowed to do? If you're doing an outside event, are there noise, why can't I think of the word? Ordinances. There we go, thank you. Are there noise ordinances in your town about how late your event is allowed to go? Are there ordinances about what kind of event you're allowed to set up? Because there is a difference between a fun fair and a penny social. There's a thin line there, but you can learn how to say, well, we're not holding a carnival, we're holding a small event. Because carnivals have one connotation that comes with them. A penny social has a totally different connotation.
In that venue, don't you have to have insurance too?
Yeah, well,
state that you have insurance?
Yes, your Grange should have insurance to hold an event there.
But to state it so the people
Yes,
feel
yeah, you
comfortable.
should say, we are covered, you should have your liability insurance posted, or at least say our insurance is available, we're covered by XYZ insurance group. And that might also be a state rule, because I don't think Pennsylvania, we have to post it, we have to have it. But again, it's a big enough, you have to have it posted. You have to have it available. If you're holding your event somewhere else, you better have liability coverage that says that you are liable or are not liable, depending on what's going on there. I know for my theater, when people rent my hall, they are required to give me $1 million in liability coverage. That if they destroy my building, we're covered. I don't have to pay for that. One of the biggest money makers at a fundraising event, if you're holding a carnival, is the food stand. The average markup on a bottle of water is over 200%. I know where I buy my water from to sell at my theater, it's 3 cents a bottle. 3 to 7, depending on how choosy I am about what I buy. I sell it for $1.50. Look at that markup. I'm making $1.47 to $1.43 per bottle of water that I sell. It's the same with candy bars. It's the same with chips. Even if you're just selling prepackaged foods, the markup is incredible. And because you're holding a fundraiser, nobody bats an eye when you're selling $1 or a bag of chips for $1. Nobody thinks about spending $2 on a bottle of water, $2 on a hot dog. Hot dogs are super cheap, super easy to make, require a little maintenance in the background. Yeah.
But then if you're selling food, you have to have a food license.
Very good.
Which in my state, at least my county, costs $72, $67 to $72 for a one-time event.
For a one-time event. Okay, well, that's a good thing to build into your budget.
Yep.
So some states are one-time licenses, some states are covered annually. And again, it's...
Oh, that costs you more if you want annually.
Well, of course, yeah. But would it benefit your Grange to get an annual permit depending on how many things you're doing each year?
For my Grange, it would not.
Okay.
It would depend on, I can see other Granges, it depends on what you're doing to cover, yeah. And
Very good, yeah.
And it also would have to be, I think based on my county, you would have to be at the same site.
Oh.
So like we have a food stand at our county fair, so to get a food license to run, because we run a concession stand in a local nature center, would not cover us because it's a totally different
Two
location.
different places. That's good to know. And things that I don't know because I don't have that kind of license.
Yep.
So it's really important. One thing that you might want to do as a community connection for your Grange is to sit down with a county commissioner or somebody from their office to say, what are the licenses that I need throughout the year to hold these kinds of fundraising events, or just events in general, not even fundraising events. If you're just hosting a Christmas party at your hall, even though you're giving things away and it might be free, there still might be things that you should know about having people who are not Grange members coming into your building. So, one other thing that you can do to boost your fundraising event is still through community partnerships. Let's say again, we're holding a carnival or maybe a townwide yard sale. Let's switch to that direction. You've decided as a Grange that you're holding a townwide yard sale, or at least a yard sale in your Grange hall and maybe in your parking lot. It's going to be kind of like a trunk sale. What are things that we do? One, let's say we're going to sell registration for you to have a table for $15 a site. For every 8-foot table you want, it's $15. Because that takes up space, and you know you have a limited amount. One thing that you can do is reach out to people like LuLaRoe salespeople, Tastefully Simple, Mary Kay, those kind of vendors, and say we have 5 tables reserved specifically for people who are selling through multi-level marketing. Those people who sell the Tupperware and that kind of stuff. Because what they do is each of them have a Facebook page that say, hi, we are going to be at the Valley Grange trunk sale on this day. Love to have you stop by. Now you are having people do marketing for your event that you don't have to do work for. Now, that being said, you should also be putting it out in as many free places as you can find. Marketing doesn't have to cost you. And that's the wonderful thing, is that the internet especially, you post something somewhere, you get 2 shares on that, each of those shares probably gets 20 to 40 views on it. So that's 80 people that you've now hit that you didn't have to pay for. Through Facebook marketing, you can pay for limited run ads to say, I want to set a budget of $100 to run this ad. You can use Facebook ads to say, I only want to target it to people within a 20-mile radius of my Grange hall. I only want this to go to people who are between the ages of 18 and 45 because that's the demographic that we want to hit for this specific event. I only want this to go to women because we're holding a fundraiser for the local breast cancer community. We only want to target people between the ages of 30 and 50 because we're holding an event that's specifically geared toward teenagers, and that's the age of people that might have teenagers right now. 30 is a bit young for that. But you can set these demographic parameters to say, I only want the following people to see this ad. And you can set a budget to say, I want this to run for 7 days, and I have $50 to spend, and Facebook will do the rest of the work for you. And they'll say, great, we will target the people that we want to see this ad for you.
It's only seen by people who have Facebook.
Again, it is only seen by people who have Facebook. But a lot of the population, a lot of people are on that site, yeah.
Just a quick tangent off from that.
Yep.
Have you seen how well does that work to do like an ad like that?
It works great. I ran, so for the theater that I work for, I ran an ad for 14 days. I had a larger budget than some greatest ad working. So I set a budget of $500. I had over, I think it was 2,500 hits on that ad in those 14 days. And the one thing that I said was, I don't want this to run for people who already like my theater's page. So it was people who were not already connected to us, or might be tangentially connected to us, who saw that ad. And then the nice thing about if you're using Facebook is that you get a report afterwards to say 2,500 people saw that and converted into 250 people who then clicked on the link. And of those links, we know that 20 of those people bought tickets. So that only works if you're having a ticketed event that requires people to come to, but you can see these kind of follow-through metrics afterwards.
Okay, yeah, they set up the algorithm and they.
Yeah. You can also then get a report to say, after these 2,500 people saw your page, 200 of them liked it.
Oh.
So now you're getting people to come, like, and see what else you're doing. Maybe they couldn't come to your Breakfast with Santa event, but they also then see that you're holding a New Year's morning party for the kids that can't stay until midnight. You're doing the party the next morning. So, just thinking out of the box here, you know?
I like how you think about that.
So it's important to run those demographics. Now, people don't have Facebook, and that's fine. The other thing, a lot of people who don't have Facebook, they're still connected to the internet. They're still looking for things to do. I bet your community has a free community calendar through your newspaper, through your local NPR affiliate, and through your TV station. All of those ways, if you're not submitting your events to those things, you are losing out on potential profit, you are losing out on potential membership. The more often people see Florida Grange appearing in the news, the more often they're seeing Florida Grange is on that feed of upcoming events, the more often they're going to start looking for it. If they come and have an enjoyable experience at your event, they're going to start looking to come back. One thing that Eagle Grange does, we do quarterly takeout dinners, and the number of people who come to our takeout dinner, and we just started these in the pandemic because before that we had sit-down community dinners. What we're learning is more people are enjoying being able to come and pick up their meals and just take it home with them than to spend, half an hour sitting there eating their spaghetti.
Doubled our profit.
Yeah.
But now they're coming and they're just going, when's your next one?
Yeah.
What's your next meal?
Yeah.
One thing Eagle Grange does, we do a give back to the community meal. Our Valentine's meal is free. Because of the money that we raise in the other meals, because of the money that we're bringing in, now you have to call and reserve your meal. You can't just show up and expect that it's going to be there. But we give it away for free. It's a take back the love event. We thank people for coming to sponsor our meals at $12 a piece throughout the rest of the year. Well, here, you can have this one back.
And pick something relatively inexpensive, like spaghetti and meatballs.
It is. I believe our Valentine's meal is a stuffed chicken breast this year. And the way that we do this is because we have members who donate the food. We go out to the community and we say, we're lucky that we have a local farmer who donates his potatoes to us and says, you can have as many potatoes as you'd like because I can't sell them all. So I know actually just this past Saturday was our Takeout Thanksgiving. And that was a full Thanksgiving dinner that people got to take home with them. Now, my dinner is a little bit early, but it's doing very well.
We do ours early as well. We do it in October.
Ooh,
That's
wow.
because we get all the people who are looking forward to turkey. It hasn't come yet. Plus, during Thanksgiving, they're turkeyed out, so they may
That's
not
true.
want to come to your event.
That's
They'll go to the church instead for turkey. Or they're turkeyed out because they eat it at home. So we flip-flopped it.
Good. And I like that. You know what would be really fun is like a Thanksgiving dinner in June.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see?
Like-
Exactly.
Flip
Yeah,
Christmas in
yeah,
July,
exactly, yeah.
which happens to be part of Pennsylvania State Junior Grange Camp this year. We're gonna have Christmas dinner on Friday night. It's Christmas dinner.
That's awesome.
Every kid's gonna get a present. It's gonna be wonderful.
Nice.
Our theme for our camp is Winter Wonderland, so I'm trying to think through all the winter holidays.
Oh,
And
that's
so I thought we would end with Christmas dinner on Friday night at camp. We're gonna have
That's
a
a
New Year's
cool
Eve party
theme.
coming
I
afterwards.
like that.
It'll be a lot of fun. Will it be 95 degrees? Yes, it will.
Yeah.
Will it be tense?
Some kids can't show up in like their winter hats and clothes.
Right, there will-
Go.
The kids this year, so
Awesome.
I like doing like 8 days at camp as junior director. So this year, one of the theme days was Crazy Sock Day. Everybody is wearing like knee-high socks and stuff. I looked and was like, why did we decide that this was a good idea when it's 90 degrees outside? I was like, you got a point. You got a point. Okay, so we created our community partnerships. We put our name out. A press person contacts you. Because when you put out your media alert, here, I'm going to go back to media alerts for just a second. Because there's kind of a formula that newspapers are looking for. The most important thing is what the heck are you doing?
Yeah.
So it is a fundraiser for a cancer charity through a penny carnival. That's the main idea. So you're going to say, Penny Carnival being posted to raise money for cancer charity. As a quick catchy headline that somebody's going to look at and say, yep, I'm going to look and research more about that event. The next thing that you want to know is who is holding the event. So you can cover that in the headline as well, hosted by Eagle Grange #1. The next thing they want to know is when is the event? Because if you're sending out a media alert and your event is the next day, you're not getting press coverage. If you're sending it out 2 months in advance, you're not going to get press coverage because they're going to forget about it. They're going to go, oh yeah, that's a thing that I should look into in the future. And then it's going to get lost in how many things have gotten lost in your email inbox? I've gotten things lost just this week. Then they want to know where. And you can't just say Eagle Grange #1 because they don't know where that is. So you're going to say it's being held in Montgomery Township, it's being held, and give a specific address, give, even if it's at your local fire hall, which everybody knows, drop the address in there just in case somehow there's 2 Stanford fire halls. Or somebody's just like, it's at the fire hall, you know the fire hall. You know where it is, right? So now you're who, you're what, you're who, you're when, you're right. Is this something familiar?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
You've got your why. Why are you doing this? You know it doesn't look good when you're putting your name out in the press. It doesn't look good to say, yeah, we're raising money so that we can have money. It does look good when you say, we are raising money for the following charities. We are raising money, I'm thinking Center County, Pomona, we do a quilt raffle sale throughout the year. And one way that throughout the spring and summer really. And one way that we market that is saying every dollar that comes in for this fundraiser goes directly back into your community. This is the money that we raise that allows us to make donations to the fire companies, to the police stations. These are the ways that we are able. So you're giving me $5. Center County Pomona is not keeping any of that $5. We are giving it all away. And one thing that I'm sure Cheryl knows this because she's from my Pomona. One thing that we try to do is give away more than that. So the one thing we have to say is we only have 2,000 tickets, and for us to give away as much as we've given, we have to sell all 2,000 tickets. Because if we don't, then our name's going to fade into the background, and we're going to start having to give smaller amounts of money to the veterans organizations that we pay for. We sponsor FFA jackets for kids throughout the state. We're not going to be able to sponsor those jackets anymore. So these kids are going to lose out on a worthwhile experience simply because we aren't able to raise the money. So we kind of make people feel guilty.
Hey, whatever works.
Right? It's called a tactic. So you've got your what, your who, your when, your where, your why. And then you finish it up with a how. How do you get more information about it? How do I buy tickets to this? How do I reserve my dinner? Because a great press release is, there's not press release, sorry, media alert, is takeout dinner hosted to raise money for local charities, hosted by People Grange #1 on November 6th from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. at People Grange Hall, the corner of East Blythe Road and Route 15 in Montgomery. Why every dollar raised goes directly back into the community through donations and making purchases for our local clubs and charities that are doing drives at this time of year. How do I buy tickets? Call Joanne Murray. Here's her cell phone.
Make sure she knows that you're.
She knows. Now here's the thing. You want to attract members. You want to attract people to be involved in this. Do you know what generational gaps? We're going to go there. Do you know what millennials and Gen Z don't like doing? We don't like making telephone calls. If it tells you that you have to call somebody to make a reservation for a dinner and you don't know that person, I'm not calling them. I'm sorry. I got things to do. I don't like leaving voicemails. I don't like playing phone tag. The one thing I like doing is having a simple online form that lets me reserve my dinner and say I will either pay now via a credit card, which I realize that a lot of Granges don't have that processing ability because it is expensive to have. So you have the option of saying I'm paying by credit card or I'm paying by cash or check the day of the event. Chad, is that a time alert?
55 after.
Oh, well, how long do I go to?
55 after.
They only gave me 45 minutes? I'm long-winded, come on. Okay, so you're gonna tell them how to get tickets, and then the last thing you're gonna tell them is, I remember this is going to the press, you're gonna give them a contact person. One person from your Grange who they can come to get more information. Stanley Rayburn has all the information you need to know about this event. He's the only person you should ask about it, okay? Because if they start asking Susan for information, and then they go to Ruth for information, and then they go to Cheryl for information, you might get 3 different versions of what the event is. So give them Stanley's information so that he can give them exactly what they need to know about it. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the how for a quick second, because Amanda went over, so I'm gonna go over a little bit. So if you need to leave, I totally understand. On the how, so there's 2 ways that you can collect people information online for them to submit forms that are free. One is called Jotform. You've all used Jotform, and you know how I know that? Because you're here. Jotform was one of the ways that you used to register for national convention through the National Grange. It's one thing that they use that's very simple and easy to use. I use it in Pennsylvania for camp registrations. That's how I get the kids to come register for camp. The other thing that you can do that's really easy, and I'm going to get some social media buzz from this one because they're going to hear this word and the internet will go, whoa, we heard him say it. It's a Google form. I said Google. I said it. You're all going to get ads on your phone tonight. You're welcome. Google Forms are a quick and easy way that you can log in. If you have a Gmail account, you have Gmail accounts which are free to use the basic Gmail account, then you have access through a Gmail account to a thing called a Google Drive, which is a cloud storage, and your Google Drive allows you the access to create a Google form, which is a quick and simple form that you can have people fill out online to register for their event, for whatever you're doing. And the nice thing that Google Forms does is that it sorts it for you. It puts it all into lovely columns and spreadsheets that you can download and use, so that way when you're calling Joanne Murray, she doesn't have to sit there and handwrite your name and the number of meals that you want and the one that you need to be gluten-free, and all that kind of information can be collected through the Google form that you can then share with the people in your Grange who need to know this information. I realize I'm kind of preaching to the choir in some aspects. But if we're going to keep growing the Grange, the one thing that we need to do is bring the technology that the Grange is using into the 21st century.
Can you teach me?
I will teach you, Cheryl. I am happy to sit down with you guys and give you a 5-minute tutorial on Google Forms because that's all the longer you need, and I promise. The one thing that Google Forms has is built-in options to say, I need to collect their name, that gets dropped in. I need to collect their address, gets dropped in. I need to collect their phone number, gets dropped in. I need to collect an email address, because you should have that. And then you can fill in your custom questions afterwards. Why am I collecting email addresses? Follow up. First of all, early communication. So let's say we're really sorry the boiler broke, or we're really sorry the stove is on the fritz, so we're not able to hold this fundraiser. However, we will forward you.
Septic just went.
The septic just went. Whatever. If there's a catastrophe,
It
it happens. It happens.
The
If
other
there's a
day.
catastrophe, you need to
Cancel
be able to
everything.
find people. You can't just say, oh yeah, this one person called and said they were going to have meals. I didn't collect their phone number or email address, so I hope they don't show up. Like, that doesn't look good for you.
We just told everybody we got a shitty situation.
So you're collecting their contact information. So after the event, you can then follow up with them and say, I really hope you enjoyed our Thanksgiving meal. By the way, join us again in February for our free takeout dinner to give back the love. We will be collecting donations at this event for us to give back into our community. It's a really quick way for them, essentially a save the date. And then a month before your next takeout dinner, you have this email list of everybody that's come to your last 3 takeout dinners and say, on February 13th, we're holding a Take Back the Love meal. We are giving away meals to anybody who registers and accept donations that day. Please sign up, follow this link. They're going to click right on it right away and sign up again. The more they come into your hall, the more likely they are to become a member because they see what you're doing. I'm going to be talking about media alerts and press releases. That's kind of my thing for the next year. So get used to hearing about it. It's in the current issue of Quarter's Worth from the National Lecturer. So if you don't have that, pick that up at the showcase next door. It's laying there. And then I will also be creating templates for you to fill out from your Granges to send out to your newspapers, to your TV stations, to your radio stations. Very simple, easy methods for you to market your event to make it a success. There's one more thing I want to talk about really quickly, and it kind of has a sad sounding name to it. I'm going to write it down, but I don't need to. It's called a postmortem. Postmortem, post-death. You're going to examine the event from a clinical level. What went right? What didn't go right? What can we do better next time? The things that went right, how can we improve to make this a better event next time? Anybody who's holding major events, they do this all the time, whether you realize it or not. Sometimes it's a formal operation. Sometimes it's a very informal, let's sit around, have coffee, have a talk, and see what went well. Because if you did it the same way you've always done it, and people didn't show up, are you going to do it the same way you've always done it again next time? The sad thing is a lot of Granges do. They're like, well, it was the weather. The weather kept people away. Or maybe it's because they didn't know about it. You have to think about these ways that you can keep improving your events to get people into your Grange Hall so you can keep doing good in the communities where you are. And I'm going to shut up because I know I'm over time, but I'm happy to take questions if you have them. Stan.
I just want to comment that I don't think you mentioned.
Yep.
Grange, or many, it's right in the center of the community. Put a big sign out, and in the sign, make sure the first thing the only thing people see at 35 miles an hour, or 50 miles an hour, or 100 miles an hour, whatever it is, they only see one thing. Make sure they know it's that event, whether it's a chicken barbecue or I don't know, a dinner or whatever.
Yeah, and a lot of Granges I've been seeing, and it doesn't have to be a fancy sign. It can be one of those signs that you replace the letters on, because people read those. I read those every time I drive through a town. That's what we have at Eagle, is a sign, and we put every lecturer's program out on there too. Because every lecturer's program that we have is open to the public. Every meeting that we have. Cheryl's on the board right now, I'm sure, because she's holding a holiday crafting workshop with us on November 17th.
Yep.
So come to that if you're in Pennsylvania.
And I also want to reinforce what you said about keeping that phone list, email list,
Uh-huh.
whatever it is.
if you have an old outdated system of somebody just handwriting it, they might pass away and their family, when they're going through their stuff, they're like, I don't know what this is, and it just gets tossed.
Yeah.
So make sure you have a digital copy of it that is shared with more than one person, so that way it doesn't get lost. We need to start digitizing the things that we do, so that way we don't have to keep reinventing the wheel every time that member who was involved for 50 years either passes away or leaves, or decides that they don't want to pass things on because they are the only person that knows how to run the fry stand. We need to do better to keep things rolling and to make sure that we are encouraging involvement from the people who aren't members as well. Does that make sense? Any other questions, comments, concerns? You're going to be seeing a lot of me over the next couple of years, so get used to this space. Yes, Dan.
Since you brought it up about the fry stand. You know, a lot of times when these events are scheduled or whatever, say, well, we can't have it that day because so-and-so's not going to be there. Well, sometimes, long-term, one of the best things that happens is so-and-so can't be there because they have a sudden funeral or something, and it highlights who knows what and what do you call it, plan? The correct word. Well, the fallback plan. Yeah.
Institutional memory. We've always done it this way. We know exactly what it is. This is a political term that often runs through from one White House to the next. They kind of carry over a couple people who know how that department was run. We need to do better at this in our Grange halls. Because if that person simply isn't at the fry stand, you need to have somebody who knows what the heck they're doing. At least a general idea of, well, I'm pretty sure the money is kept here. And does anybody know where the cash bag is? Because that's a problem. We need to do better about training people to take over from the people who are currently in charge. One reason that Granges are closing is because nobody knows how things were done or how things could be done. Because Martha's always run the car since she was 30, and now she's 90 and still running it. But no 30-year-olds are ready to take over because they won't let anybody be involved. One reason that we are not keeping youth membership is because the youth are being discouraged from being involved in these things that have been part of your Grange's legacy for years. Which is a whole other topic, but one thing that we need to do better about is encouraging people who are not involved or who want to be involved to be more involved. I don't want to just be the person who is standing in the back carving up the turkey at the Thanksgiving dinner. I want to learn more about maybe making the stuffing, because the same person always makes the stuffing. So how do I get involved in the stuffing making? What am I allowed to do? And they're like, well, it has to be the chestnut stuffing. I was like, well, what if we bring cranberry stuffing instead? Like, what if we make a change? Then everybody goes, oh, you can't change, don't do that. And then somebody makes a comment like, oh God, I really like that cranberry stuffing that I had last time. And then suddenly it becomes a thing. You need to allow an evolution of your events and the things that you're hosting. You shouldn't host the same event over and over again, because if suddenly people are like, well, we've gone to this trunk or treat for the past 10 years and the same people are there all the time. And well, frankly, I'd like to see more people, and I'm not getting enough candy because you guys as a Grange stopped inviting people to participate in the trunk or treat because you said it's gotta be only Grange members that have a car and no community organizations. People are gonna stop coming to these things. So in order to keep growing your involvement in your community, you need to involve your community. And that's new members, that's potential members, that's your local 4-H club, that's your local Kiwanis, your FFA, your Eagles, that's not a thing. Your Lions, your elk.
Yeah, there's Eagle Scouts.
There is Eagle Scouts, that is a thing. That's like, I knew it was a thing.
There is an Eagles organization.
Oh, is there really? I'm gonna find out more about that. So we need to make these community connections to make sure that we stay relevant in our communities. And I realized that my topic was fundraising and we went in a lot of different directions, but getting more involved in your community is going to help your community get involved in you. So that's kind of where I'm going to leave that. So thanks. Thank you all. Sorry I said the word
set of problems should we?
They hear everything.
Big
Oh.
brother.
They know.